Well, I'm joined today by Dr. Anderson. Dr. Anderson, thank you so much for being here with us today and sitting down and taking some time out of your afternoon.
My pleasure. Look forward to having a conversation with you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Well, let's start off. I guess let's go basic. What is your role and your job here at MSU Denver?
My role at MSU Denver is I'm the Associate to the President for Diversity, and I serve as the Chief Diversity Officer for the institution. I'm also a faculty member in teacher education. I'm Associate Professor there as well. And so my role is twofold. As a Chief Diversity Officer, I promote inclusive excellence and diversity and inclusion throughout the university and develop programs and facilitate actions to do that. And as a professor, I teach multicultural education, and I also teach education technology.
So I guess talk about what does a diverse campus look like?
A diverse campus is a campus that really follows the fundamentals of inclusion and diversity. And that is really a welcoming environment that embraces inclusive excellence, where all folks that are involved with the campus feel embraced and welcomed, no matter what background they may be. I'm looking at diversity in the largest scope of the word. Not just race, we're looking at socioeconomic status, we're looking at abilities, we're looking at age, we're looking at race, religion, we're looking at sexual orientation. So when we talk about the term diversity, we're really trying to be all-encompassing, if you will, in regards to that term. So
how is MSU Denver doing with their goals of being a diverse campus?
Great question. So how are we doing? Well, see, I think diversity, first of all, diversity matters for everyone. And diversity is really a project, a construct, a goal and objective for the entire university. And I think one thing that I think we're so happy about here at Metropolitan State University is that we all believe in diversity and inclusion and welcome that, and we're all involved with that. So when you ask me the question, how we're doing, there's a couple of things that we can look at measuring it. One, it can be just as simple as how do you feel when you walk across campus? How do you feel when you go to your classroom? And what's your impression when you register for classes and you go into your classroom and see your instructors and you see your students around you and your colleagues and your friends, and what does that feel like to you? And that feeling is an element of diversity and inclusion, and hopefully that feeling is a welcoming feeling. We also have some other measures like our strategic plan, or I'll go ahead and allude to the core values of the university. And our core values, and if we can look a little bit here, you can see the core values of the university: community, access, diversity, respect, and entrepreneurship. Within the core values of our institution, diversity is right there in the forefront. And so it's important to have that understanding and belief, as well as documentation, philosophies, and strategies to back up those core values. So that's important. And then another thing that I'll talk about is we get these national awards that we apply for, and we apply for them just to really benchmark ourselves. And one that we've recently received is the Diversity Champions Award. And that's an indicator of the top 10 schools in the country that advance diversity better than anyone else. Now, prior to winning that award this year, we won the HEAT Award, which is recognizing schools that advance diversity throughout the country, and we won that 3 times. So after winning that a couple of times, I'm happy to say we've made more improvements in terms of our goals of diversity and inclusion, that we've actually now been recognized as one of the top 10 in the country that do that.
And what is some of the criteria that goes into that, into deciding that?
Some of the criteria involves with, one, they do look at statistics in regards to the makeup of your institution. That's one thing. We also look at things like affinity groups that are part of your institution, systems that you have in place to advance diversity and inclusion, your philosophy on diversity and inclusive excellence, the makeup of your institution in regards to the leadership and having opportunities to have leadership in key roles that work throughout the institution, the inclusion of gender within the leadership, within the deans, the vice presidential cabinet, the president's cabinet, and within the student body and the leadership there as well. So there's a lot of indicators. The application is, I don't know how many pages it is, but it's a pretty intense application that takes a thorough look at your institution before they make those decisions if you should receive the award.
And what are some of those systems in place here at this university that ensure that we are, well, I mean, we are making strides. So what are some of those systems in place here for that?
We have some good systems in place. I still always believe it's a work in progress. I'm a believer that diversity and inclusion and our goal to be an inclusive institution is a continuous project and process to work. But if we can go ahead and move to the right here on this chart, I can talk a little bit about some of those systems in regard to what I call our inclusive excellence framework. And if you look at our inclusive excellence framework, there's 6 elements that, as you'll see, will lead to the red center point within this document or within this chart that talks about achieving excellence or inclusive excellence. And so when you look at campus climate, we at this institution every other year do a campus climate survey. We do a student experience survey, and we do also a faculty and staff survey. And so the goal is to get a pulse, if you will, a perspective, if you will, of what this campus looks like, what we're doing right as an institution, what we're doing not so right as an institution, and where we can make improvements. And so that's important, that it's not just done when there's an issue or a concern, it's systemically put in place to do every 2 years, every other year at the institution. So that's one thing. We're involved with civic engagement throughout the institution through a lot of ways, a lot of mechanisms, from our academic connections, through programs, through activities. And so that's important to be a part of our community. We believe that Metropolitan State should have a symbiotic relationship between our community and the institution. And we do that through a lot of different ways. Then our diversity initiative funding. We have funds earmarked so that faculty and staff can put together programs that fall in line with maybe their backgrounds or their cultures that they want to express around the institution. And those funds are used as seed money to implement those programs. So when you walk across campus and I talk about that feeling and that atmosphere, you'll see programs going on like the Rachel B. Knoll Visiting Professorship. You may see the MLK Peace Breakfast. You may see some activities going on in the outside quad areas. I mean, there's a lot of things taking place. And I will also say the Student Government Association, they've got funds available to help support some of these projects. And so the students get involved with activities as well. And you create this synergy and energy, if you will, of activities and programs taking place throughout the campus. There's the equity scorecard, which gives us a quantitative look at how we do things and what's equity in regards to graduation rates and student outcomes. There's our diversity development, which is our strategic plan in terms of how do we recruit and retain faculty of color and how do we recruit our students and have a diverse student base. And then retention and recruitment. And I always say it this way because I think retention is a key part of people wanting to be here. And you almost need to put retention first and recruitment second. And that way we kind of lay the foundation for a welcoming environment, and then we invite people to come in.
So how is MSU Denver handling all of this right now this year?
How we're handling all that? Well, there's a lot of folks that get involved with this. And I will say, I wasn't going to talk a little bit about the top frame, but since you asked that question, you know, I really think, if you zoom in on the top chart, part of this chart, I really think we all are in this together when it comes to diversity, and I believe our faculty, our staff, and our students and our community are just really believers in diversity and inclusion, and it makes it really easy to do that. And I think what we do, though, is what my role is as a Chief Diversity Officer is try to see if I can help shape, maybe facilitate, if you will, bring some research to the table, some best practices, and really work with other folks throughout the institution to help us really move the needle, if you will, in regards to diversity and inclusion. I serve in the centerpiece of that chart of the CDO, which is a Chief Diversity Officer, but if you look around those other circles, learning and diversity, multicultural, affirmative action, all those things that come into play, we all work on this together. And I'm just a small part of a larger part of a greater goal to promote diversity and inclusion.
So why is it important for us to be a diverse campus? Why should students care?
Well, in my opinion, diversity really creates excellence. Diversity allows us to be better citizens of the world. We get different perspectives. We get different ideas. We are able to work with people from around the globe and from different perspectives. We get to work with students that may have different abilities, and all these things allow us to shape and really make better decisions. When you look at work and philosophy and strategies and courses that you may take, and when you work in groups and you're able to work with a diverse group, the answers and outcomes that you get are typically better than a homogeneous environment. So diversity allows us to develop those skills and learn how to be in that group and really understand collaborative leadership in the larger sense of the word, and then be able to use that as we go on in our lives and become leaders of the country, of the nation.
Sure. So something you briefly mentioned earlier on the scorecard is areas that need improvement. What are some areas that we can improve on here on campus?
Well, I think that we can really look at our graduation rates and how we can improve our graduation rates. We want our graduation rates to be as high as possible. We want every student to be able to come in, get a degree from MSU Denver and be able to graduate and be productive citizens and go out into the world and do some of the things that they want to do. Maybe go into graduate school, maybe work in certain majors and things like that, work in professions and what have you. So we always want to improve our graduation rates to allow us to have the most people graduating as possible. That's one area we can improve in. I think that we can look at how we can still continue to move the needle and diversify our student base, having our Latino students, increasing our number of Latino students on our campus, increasing our number of students with disabilities on our campus, increasing all that diversity, international students, Native American students. Our Native American student population is not the largest of all of our diverse groups within the campus. I think we should also look at our socioeconomic piece and allowing us to be an access institution and allow folks to be able to come and be a part of our institution that may not have as many means as others. And those are things that we can always work on. So, we've got some good things. We've won our national award. That's saying a lot, but we don't want to rest on our laurels, and we still want to get better, and we want to serve students, and we want to create greater access for students to advance and go into careers and do some great things as citizens of the world.
Great. Well, what is the best way for students if they have any concerns or they just want to talk to you? What's the best way they can get in contact with you?
Well, I have a website, the Chief Diversity Officer's website, and you can definitely, there's actually a link where you can kind of, contact us or send some information to me that way. So you always could do that, but not just that. I mean, you can just look on the President's Cabinet. I report to the President of the University, Dr. Stephen Jordan. You'll see my name listed there, and you can email me directly if you have any questions or concerns. There's an organization that I chair called the Diversity Inclusion Group. And that group is really looking at issues of diversity and inclusion and how we can do better. So students can get involved in that. And on my website, you'll see a sign-up sheet where you can say, hey, this is a diversity and inclusion committee. And then you can just join by hitting a button and then putting your name in. And then you'll be automatically put on a listserv. And then you'll start getting information about meetings. And hopefully you can come and share your opinion about things and be involved with it. So those are some ways to get in contact with me in regards to issues around diversity and inclusion.
And I guess another question that I just kind of came up with, we are getting a new president here soon. Dr. Jordan will be stepping down come summer of this next year. What do you hope that a new president can bring in terms of diversity?
Well, I tell you, Dr. Jordan, and I give all accolades to his leadership. I mean, it really starts with that leadership in regards to diversity. So I can't say enough about how he's led diversity from all angles. I mean, more than we've just talked about today in regards to supporting their diversity goals and objectives. So I give Dr. Jordan credit in that in many ways. But with our new president, I just would hope that they understand the philosophy and meaning of diversity and inclusion and inclusive excellence, and really how we can look at systemically putting in processes to promote diversity in the larger sense of the word, and that's really what I ask.
Great. Well, Dr. Anderson, thank you so much for being here with us and talking to us just for a few minutes about diversity, and I really appreciate your time.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. Anytime you want me to come back, I'm happy to do so. Take care. Have a good day.
You too.